the recording. So my name is Ian Caldwell. I work for Oregon State Parks and Recreation, and this is a meeting for the Sumpter ATV Highway number 410 access route proposal. I do recognize that there's a presidential debate on tonight, and I did not know that when I scheduled this, so I apologize for that. I'm going to give a quick 2-minute rundown of the whole thing. If people wanted to go and watch that, we have some options that would free you up. So, and then, basically, we're reviewing a couple sections of road that we're taking comments through the ATV Highway at Oregon.gov website, so you can email comments to there. And then we will be posting this presentation online tomorrow with a YouTube video, and so you'd be able to watch it through, I think through the weekend. We'll have it up through the open comment period time. So, and so our what we're looking at is in the town of Sumpter, we have the main highway that goes from the northwest edge of town, which is the start of the county road, or where the county road ends and the state highway begins at milepost 00. And the original request was to look at designating the road down to Sawmill Gulch Road, and that would be allowed to be open to ATV use. And then there was a second part of that request, and that would be for, so that this is that milepost 0 to 1.8, so about 1.25 miles. And the second part of that would be, there's a short 1/4 mile section of trail between Huckleberry Loop and Sumpter Cemetery Road, and that is actually not on the paved surface or the shoulder, but it would be in the right-of-way. But allowing that use to occur in the right-of-way, we need to have that designated. So, so that was a quick, really quick rundown of what it is. I'm going to go into a lot more detail for the rest of this presentation. But like I said, if you want to dip out and watch this later, you can atv.highway@oregon.gov and send email comments to that. Those comments will be added to our report and given to our advisory committee. So those would actually be considered public records and be available for people to look at. So this website, OregonOHV.org, if you click on that, let's see if I can open that. We have this is our state park website. And if you go to that address, you'll get to our main Ride ATV webpage. And if you just scroll down and look here at the Highway ATV Access Committee, this top line right here, September 29th, public meeting will be posted here. We'll probably just highlight the word here and have a hyperlink to that, and that would get you to the YouTube video. And we'll get this to the city and to some of the Facebook pages and stuff, so you would be able to have access to that. So with that, there is an element that you can ask questions. I'm not sure if it appears as a chat or questions, but you can type into that, and we can try to field some of those questions. The purpose of this meeting isn't to have a big discussion on here. It's more to present the materials, and if you have like clarifying questions about something, we can try to address that. So on here, we also have Eric Leeming. Eric is on the ATV Highway Access Committee as well as myself. And then we also have Ace Clark. He is I believe the district manager for ODOT based out of LeGrand. And so he has a little bit more on the ground knowledge. So I will start with our Senate Bill 344. So in 2017, there was a bill, and there's actually a couple bills throughout the years before that, trying to create a process that you can create allow ATVs on highways. And there was all kinds of different versions of that, from putting turn signals and mirrors on ATVs and giving them license plates to just looking at certain sections of highways. So what came out of that is it created a process to be able to look at very specific routes of state highways. So this is not for county roads, it's not for city roads, it's only for state highways. And it's to make connections like where you need to connect some city or state roads or Forest Service road to some trails or a certain location. So the Senate bill set up a process that would have state parks act as the facilitator and to coordinate, to accept applications and to review it through our advisory committee. So we have an advisory committee who reviews applications, and then they would make a recommendation to the Oregon Transportation Commission. So the recommendation actually goes to ODOT first, and then they pass it up the line to the OTC, and they make the final decision on whatever would happen. So the purpose is not this. It's not high use roads, busy, congested stuff. If you notice the date on this, this was August 21st, 2017. This is the day of the eclipse, and if you notice the time, this was like 5-6 hours after the eclipse, and Highway 97 was still completely congested there. Anyway, the purpose of it is this. It's operating on rural roads and lower speeds and lower use levels. So what are some reasons for allowing use on the paved roads? It's primarily to connect towns with trails and trail systems. We recognize there's a need to access businesses. A lot of times the businesses are located on the state highway. We also have places where we have pinch points where we have maybe a river or a stream and there's a bridge and there's only one place to cross that, and oftentimes that is the state highway. And also to reduce confusion. So sometimes people aren't really sure like which route to take. If you have to use a bunch of side roads to get around something, it sometimes can become confusing. So the road authority. So the road authority is who has the authority to designate types of use on the road. So this is not of who does road maintenance and painting lines on the road and patching potholes, but it's who designates the type of use. So the city has the road authority for all city and county roads within the city limits. So the counties, obviously they have it outside the cities, but once the county road enters the city, they no longer have that road authority. But for state highways, ODOT has the road authority. So whether it's inside or outside the city limits, ODOT always has that road authority. So back in 2003, Sumpter designated roads as open to ATV use. And in 2017, Baker County opened most of the roads. I think there's 6 or 7 roads that are specifically not open to ATV use. And so that's within the cities and counties. And there's several other cities in Baker County that also have open roads. But all the state highways in all those cities are technically closed to ATV use. And now we do have a process where we can potentially designate sections as the specific term is a ATV highway access route. So some of the considerations is being considered a ATV highway access route. It can be in the right of way. So this is the kind of south end of the trail in Sumpter. This section of the trail is actually in the right of way, and then you could potentially ride on the shoulder or ride on the road. So as we are looking at designating these routes, we're kind of considering all 3 of those options and whether we want them to be on the road or not on the road or shoulder or not. So there's varying reasons why you'd want them in one spot or another. This is actually Sawmill Gulch Road. I took a trip up to the area and was got a lot of video and footage and looked around quite a bit. And this was kind of interesting. This person went by me and they were going about 5-10 miles an hour and they were on the shoulder. They could have easily been on the road, but I think the nature of how they wanted to drive, they preferred going at a slower speed and on the gravel surface. So for the types of vehicles that we're talking about, so ATVs come in 4 different classes of vehicles. We call them class 1, 2, 3, and 4. And basically a class 1 ATV is what is known as a 4-wheeler or a quad. Class 2 tends to be Jeeps or sandrails, and those can be street legal or non-street legal. Motorcycles are class 3, and those, most of them are non-street legal, but some can actually be dual purpose street legal motorcycle. And then class 4 vehicles are side-by-sides, and none of those are street legal. And so the designation of the highway would be open to all of those types of vehicles. So on state highways, if you are on a motorcycle or an ATV, you need to wear a helmet. And if you're in the woods, riding in the woods, only people under the age of 18 have to have a helmet, but being on the paved roads, everybody has to have that. So for side-by-sides, we are not requiring that you have a helmet on unless you're a youth under the age of 18, and that's the state law if you're in a side-by-side like that. But over age 18, since they have roll cages, we're not requiring them. But seatbelts are required. So with your side-by-sides, you have to actually any vehicle on any highway or road, including gravel, Forest Service roads and stuff, technically you have to have your seatbelt on at all times. Insurance. So liability insurance is required for all vehicles on roads. And I believe that both the county and city ordinances also require insurance to operate. Pretty much every city and county in the state of Oregon require insurance. So we also have minimum age, and the Senate bill did not actually call out what that minimum age was, but it says that you have to have driving privileges. And so those driving privileges can be a driver's license or an instruction permit. So technically you can have somebody under the age of 15 operating, or not under age 15 and above operating, but kids 12, 6, 8 would not be allowed to operate on the state highway. So, and by driving privileges, if your license is suspended or revoked, you cannot operate any type of class of an ATV, whether that's on the highway or in the woods or sand dunes or any place like that. Your privileges are specifically revoked for ATVs. ATV safety education cards are required, and that's a free card, and then you can get that online. This website, you want to make sure to go to the Oregon site from our state park webpage. That is totally free. There's a couple other sites where you can get a safety education card, but they charge you a fee for that. So like I said, ours is totally free. You take the course. Adults and children all have to have that if they're operating. Like if kids are in the woods on trails, they have to have their safety education card. You also need an ATV permit. So this is a $10 decal that goes on your vehicle. You can purchase that online, our state park store. You can enter the number of vehicles you need permits for, and you need your VIN number, and you put that information in and your address and all that information. We actually issue you a card immediately. We will send that to you through email, and it's saved as a PDF on your phone, and you can show a law enforcement officer that file, and he would accept that. We get those shipped out of Salem pretty quick, within just a couple days, and often people get them within a week. 2 weeks is the max, but usually those go out pretty quick. So we do have some permit vendors throughout the state where you can buy them in actual stores, and I'm not sure if there's a vendor in Sumpter or not. I think there was at one time, but I'm not sure if they are no longer selling them. So let's talk a little bit about the town access routes. So we have, this is the first section. So starting at milepost 00, this is where the state highway starts. Just beyond that is Cracker Creek Road, and that goes up to Bourne. And so that's a pretty popular access for people to get access to the woods to the north. The route goes for about 1/3 of a mile and crosses the bridge over Cracker Creek, and then continues further south through downtown area where there's numerous business and hotels. Comes up to Austin Street. There is access that you can drive down Austin Street, and there's a trail that goes from the hotel and runs between the railroad tracks all the way down to Sawmill Gulch Road. And then on one of the concepts too is to either allow people just to use that trail, or potentially continue down on the road surface or the shoulder all the way down to Sawmill Gulch Road. Regardless if we designated this all the way, or if we had people use Austin Street and the trail, part of this trail is also on within the ODOT right of way, and there's not room to move it out. So we do have to officially make a designation all the way to Sawmill Gulch Road. So one of the big things is the hotel access. So you can kind of off to the right here there's a trail that heads down and actually comes onto the state park property, and Oregon State Parks allows this use to occur on this trail that runs the length of town. State Parks worked with the city back in 2003 to allow that traffic to go through there and beyond that trail. So I've heard there might be issues with continuing to allow ATV use through the hotel parking lot and trying to discourage that type of use. So here is the Austin Road. You can see the sign that says ATV Trail just before the railroad tracks. There's a crossing here. There have been some issues with the ATVs removing the gravel on the shoulders as they cross, and State Parks actually put some concrete aprons on there so that when the ATVs come up that they don't create ruts and damage the asphalt. ATVs want to use local businesses, restaurants, and different places. People ride out of the hotel and want to get access to places. This is on the south end of town. This is where the speed limit changes from 25 to 45. And at this location, the trail kind of leaves the state park and dips into the right of way. And the right of way is pretty much right where the power line pole is. So anything on this side of it is ODOT right of way and needs to be designated as ATV highway access route. On the far south end of town, this is where the trail kind of comes up and hits the Sawmill Gulch Road. One of the issues back in 2003 was how to have ATVs get access to the road, and at that time this trail was not put in here, and people were going through the Sumpter Dredge State Park, but that was creating conflicts like on busy weekends when there was a flea market and stuff. So the railroad was very adamant that we could only cross with ATVs at designated railroad crossings. So that pretty much put us at Sawmill Gulch Road or at Austin Street. And we had explored other options to go around the north end of the dredge or different places, but the railroad crossing was a pretty key factor. Cracker Creek Bridge is also an issue. I do know there's another bridge a little bit to the south of that, but you can see there's actually a lot of shoulder use going on, and technically that needs to be designated if they're using that. And then as you cross the road to Magnolia and some of the other streets, there's several access issues in there too, making connections. So the second part of this is relatively minor. It's a short quarter-mile section of trail that connects Huckleberry Loop to Sumpter Cemetery Road. And this is about a quarter-mile long, and it's a trail, and I think people just started riding it, and nobody officially sanctioned it. This is from the road just across the street from Huckleberry Trail, looking to the north. And so we were looking at signing this and allowing ATV use on this section of trail. We will not allow use to be on the pavement. This is a 55-mile-an-hour section of road, and there's guardrails here, so there's really no shoulder to get off to the side, and especially this pinch point with guardrails on both sides of the road would make that a very dangerous situation if a truck is trying to pass a ATV and there's oncoming traffic. So this is just another view of the trail as it heads down the road. We do have one issue. There's some pretty tight trees in here, and I did not actually measure this, and you know, getting a 50-inch wide side-by-side is not a problem. I think a 60-inch would be okay, but we do have some that are wider, up to 72 inches in width, so we may have to the trees may have to limit put a width restriction on this section of trail. So some of the issues to address, there's some solutions to try to help explain the rules and stuff. One of the concepts we've talked about is having a brochure that explains the different rules, because there's actually different rules for the Sumpter city roads, the county roads, and the state highways. And so we want to make sure that people are clear about what those rules are, and when they're crossing over from one road to another, that they're doing the right thing. So also having informational signs. So as you can see in this bottom right corner, there's a sign in the, I believe it's called Volunteer Park in Sumpter. And so it has some of the rules on there. If you can read it, it talks about no ATVs on state highways. So if anything was designated here, we would have to look at addressing that. ODOT is actually pretty concerned about putting those sorts of informational signs on the highway itself. So that sort of information needs to live someplace else, like at City Hall or at a park or someplace where people can easily access it. Law enforcement, we have our state park program manages a grant system where we provide funding for operation maintenance and law enforcement throughout the state. So we provide funding for the Forest Service to take care of trails up on the Blue Mountain Ridge Trail and throughout that area. But we also have a contract with Baker County Sheriff's Office, and they employ one full-time deputy who does patrol, so he can potentially go. I know they've been spending more time lately in Sumpter and trying to address some of the issues that are currently ongoing there. And then signs. I found this down in Moab. They created a sign saying "Throttle down in town," which is something we were considering doing, maybe a similar sort of a campaign, because we're having different places kind of popping up with this, and just one of those things that we're not going to be able to put that in the ODOT right away, but if a neighbor landowner wants to put that in their yard, they can kind of have that reminder to people to slow down. Like, you commonly see them in neighborhoods, like, slow down, what if your kids lived here, drive like your kids lived here, or something like that. So ODOT has actually been working on a sign plan. So we've got just some standards for how signing would work. If something were to happen in here, we need to put signs up to warn drivers. So having like an ATV on roadway sign when the route starts on both ends of that. And then especially coming southbound, wherever that ends, there's going to be a point where you're no longer allowed on the state highway, and we need to put a sign that like a ATV with a slash through it, so that you know that you don't go beyond that point. So so for the Huckleberry Loop, that sign would be a probably more, we wouldn't sign the highway because people aren't going to be mixing traffic on the highway, but we put brown Carsonite signs that are common on trail systems that basically let people know that that route is open to ATV use. So the process that we're going through is State Parks received an application to review this from the city of Sumpter. We have a committee who's been reviewing the application. We've been holding, we did a site visit. I went out on the ground and looked at it and got video footage and whatnot. And I've been with State Parks since 2003, and I actually live in Central Oregon, but I work all over the state, and I've been to Sumpter many times over the years. But we also have we're doing public meeting, which is currently our public meeting, and so we're receiving comments in the mail, which we opened this up a couple weeks ago. We've received a half a dozen letters so far, and we will continue to receive emails through October 4th, so that's Sunday. So because I need to pull those together Monday morning for our advisory committee. And we've conducted stakeholder meetings. So we've had meeting with county commissioner, with the city, with ODOT and Sumpter Dredge State Park, Forest Service, ATV Club. So quite a few things where we've been kind of talking through and addressing some issues. That committee would make a recommendation, and that recommendation would get written up into a report, and that report would go to ODOT, and then ODOT would send that to the Oregon Transportation Commission. If timing works out, that would go to the Oregon Transportation Commission meeting on December 1st, and if they approve that any part of that route, then that would then it would essentially be opened as soon as signs get posted on the ground. So with that, again, I have got the email address to send emails to. I got a link to the Oregon OHV website. It has a lot of information about roads and trails and that kind of stuff. So, and then I have actually posted my phone number here too, and you are free to call me. I'm probably going to turn my phone off tonight, so don't call me tonight. It's been a long day, but I'm available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. If you want to call, if you have questions and you want to discuss any of this, I'm always open to discussions with stuff. So, and with that, I'll check and see if there were any questions that came in. So I don't actually see anything. Okay. Okay. Ace or Eric, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. There's one that says, Ian, how do we get the volume on? I'm not sure if they're trying to speak or if they couldn't hear us. I can't tell who actually wrote that, but in the question section.
Yeah, hopefully they got that figured out. I'll have to watch that on YouTube tomorrow. So I know who that is too. I'll check with them later. Okay. So with that, without seeing any other questions, I will end this session. Again, my information's on here. We'll get that YouTube video posted sometime tomorrow. I have to have somebody else help me with that, but we should get that up and going, and we'll get that. I'll send it to a few of my contacts in Sumpter, and I think there's some Facebook pages and some other locations that we'll try to get that posted for people. So again, you can send comments till October 4th, which is Sunday afternoon, evening, yep. So that would be it for the meeting.